Hello everyone. Today we will continue our journey together to learn programming without coding technology. We will create some examples to learn more about programming. At first, we will provide a multiplication table using a for loop. So let us start by having a for loop from 1 to 12 like this. And inside this loop, we will create another loop like this, and it will be from 1 to 12 too, but using another variable which is t2 like this. And now we can print the multiplication table for each numbers from 1 to 12. So we will print as expression, and starting from a string like this, empty string, we will print the current number, which is t. Then we will use the multiplication operator like this or just like this. Then we will print t2. After that, we will add the equal operator. Then all of this was a string, but I would like now to do the multiplication. So as a number, I will put this inside a group, and I will use t multiplied by t2. And of course, we have a new line here. So when we run this, we get the multiplication table. We can run this using Control D, and you see that now we have 1 multiplied by 1 and so on until 12. Then we have 2 multiplied by 1 and so on until 12. And so on. We have the table from 1 to 12, which is good. Now I would like to add a separator between each table. So using the print component, I can print some stars like this. And we can see now the table in a better way. Another way to print the stars is to use expression and a function called the copy function like this. And we add the stars here and say we would like to replicate these stars for 20 times like that. Now run and see this, which is much better. And if I would like to change the stars to another thing like this, I can just do this quickly. So it is very nice to use this function. Another way is to define a function called line like this. And inside this function, we provide our copy function, and we call the line function directly after the for loop using the call function component. So run and we get the result. So what we learned now, we learned how to use the copy function and how to use nested for loops to print the multiplication table. And when we have an expression as a string, it is better to start with a string to say that what I am using is just strings. So the t variable, which is a number, will be converted to a string, and the same for t2. But once I would like to do arithmetic operations like multiplication, I will put this in a group to say that I would like to multiply the t variable as a number and the t2 variable as a number too. So this is a nice example. We can now move on to another thing, like say I would like from the user to enter the number from 1 to 12, then after that I can print the table. So in this example, I will say at first, enter a number between 1 and 12 like this, or I can say enter a number in the range 1 and 12. So the user will see this message, and I will provide a get input. I will provide a way to enter the input, so I will use the get input component, and I will get this like in number variable, which will be a number. Now I would like to check the range that the number is between 1 and 12. I can say if n number greater than or equal 1 and n number less than or equal 12, like this. As we can see, in this case we can have the for loop that print our result. So let us save this and we go here. I will copy, say, this loop, Control C or this button. Then here I will use Control V. But instead of using, say, T2, it can be like this, but I will change the T variable to be in number. And I prefer to have here like T, like this. And here we will have n number and T. Now what will happen when we run this program? We will enter the number between 1 and 20. If I will enter, say, 100, nothing will happen because it is outside the range. But when I run and enter, say, number 1, I see the table for the number 1. And when I run and enter, say, 10, I see the table for the number 10, which is good. Now I would like to put this inside like a while loop, and we can say this while loop true, and I will move these steps down simply like this. And if we get, say, a number outside the range, we can print a message like this. The number is outside the range. And we can end the program where we exit from our loop. So when we run, now enter a number, say 10, we get the table. Say 4, we have also the table for number 4. Now enter 0, which is outside the range. We get the message the number is outside the range, and we end the program. This is good. Now I would like to move forward and learn about creating a function to test this condition. So at first I will save this program as lesson 23 part 3 like this. So now we have our first program, which is just print the table like this. And we have this program which asks for a number, say number 4 and 0 to exit. And now we have this one that I would like to modify to a better program. So to do this, I will define a function that checks this condition to teach you a simple lesson. So I will use the define function component. Remember this, when I just start typing, I will get what I type here because the search window or the toolbox does not appear. So he tells me that, the tool tells me that I am now at the define function component. So I press enter, which is good. And I will define a function called check number like this. And it will get a number, say in variable in number. Now the beginner way to do the check is just to use if statement as we did here and say like this: if we have the number in the range, we will return true. Like this. And if we don't have the number in this range, we just return false. This is not a good way to create this function because this if statement is not necessary at all. I will explain a better thing to do, but at first let us try this. I will use check number function instead of just typing the condition here. So I will use check number and I will pass the number that we have. So now look at this. When we run this program, we get the same result. Say I type it 12, I get the table. If I type it 1, I get the table. And if I type it 0, the program is terminated. So the check number function is working. But this way to write an if statement that check a condition and return true or false is not a good way to program. So let us copy this function and have like another one which is check number 2. Instead of using if statement like this to test the condition, I will delete this if statement and I will just use the return command and I will type the condition directly. So this function will check this condition and will return the output of this condition. So here I can come and change check number to check number 2 like this, and I still get the same result, which is like say print table number 5 and print table number 10, and now any number outside the range, and we will end the program. So what we learned now? We learned that if we have if statements that test a condition and return true, and if this condition is false, it returns false, then I don't need this if statement and I can just use the expression directly, which is say return the expression. This is very important lesson to know about writing a better expressions and how to test them. So I will stop here for now. I hope that you enjoyed this lesson and see you in our next lesson. Goodbye.